My teacher humiliated me, so I ended her career with a recorded rant. My teacher slammed my essay down on her desk and snarled, "This is absolute garbage." My face went hot as snickers rippled through the classroom. Ms. Tanner had humiliated me in front of everyone before, but never like this. I gripped my pencil so hard it nearly snapped. Each word out of her mouth felt like a slap. "Did you even try?" A fifth grader could write a better paper, pathetic. I could hear a few classmates suck in their breath. This was brutal, even for Miss Tanner. She had a reputation for being harsh, but usually her cruelty was more subtle, sarcastic comments, points deducted for the tiniest mistakes, that sort of thing. Today she was on a rampage, and I was her target. I wanted to defend myself so badly, but I knew if I opened my mouth I'd either start yelling or crying. So I just sat there, cheeks burning, as she held up my essay, covered in angry red pen marks, and addressed the class. "Let this be a lesson to all of you. If you turn in drivel like this, you will fail my class. I am not here to spoon-feed you. I expect effort. I expect quality." She spat the last word, then shot me a look of pure disdain. When the bell finally rang, I bolted out of there, crumpling my essay in my fist. As I rushed into the hallway, I heard Ms. Tanner call after me. "Maybe you should consider repeating sophomore English." Her cruel laughter followed me as I fled. Outside, my best friend Jason caught up to me. I was shaking with humiliation and rage. Jason looked at my face and swore under his breath. That was messed up. She's totally out of line. I just nodded, afraid that if I spoke, I'd start crying. A couple of classmates gave me sympathetic glances as they passed, whispering about how crazy Miss Tanner had been. This wasn't an isolated incident either. Everyone knew she could be a nightmare. Freshman year, she reduced a girl to tears for mispronouncing a word. Last month, she made a kid with ADHD stand outside the classroom as punishment for fidgeting. Ms. Tanner was a tenured teacher who'd been at our school for 20 years. Rumor was the administration didn't dare touch her because her students' test scores were always high. Fear is a great motivator, I guess. And she was buddies with the principal. Complaints about her got brushed off as, "Kids these days are too sensitive." Jason put a hand on my shoulder. "What are you going to do?" he asked quietly. "We both know complaining won't do squat." He was right. I'd seen parents try to complain about her and nothing changed. But I wasn't about to just let this go. My embarrassment was morphing into determination. "We need proof," I said. Jason raised an eyebrow. "Proof?" I took a deep breath, still trembling. "I'm going to record her, catch one of her insane rants on video or audio. Something that can't be ignored or swept under the rug." His eyes widened. "Dude, that could get you in trouble. They have that no phone rule." Our school has a rule against recording teachers. But at that moment, I didn't care. Nothing else had stopped Miss Tanner from terrorizing us. "I don't see any other way," I said. "If I get caught, whatever. But if I succeed, she won't be able to deny what she's like." Jason looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, I'm in. Let's do it." For the next week, I came to English class with my phone in my hoodie pocket, camera lens peeking out just enough. I felt like a junior James Bond, half exhilarated, half terrified. To be honest, Miss Tanner made it easy. There was hardly a day she didn't go off on someone. The hardest part was catching a really good career-ending meltdown without being obvious. A few days went by with minor incidents. A snide comment here, an unreasonable pop quiz there. But nothing explosive enough. Then came the day of the Shakespeare presentation. A classmate, Carlos, admitted he hadn't finished reading Hamlet because of a family emergency. That was all the spark Miss Tanner needed. "You what?" she hissed, eyes lighting up with malice. "You didn't bother to finish the assignment? Why are you even in this class then?" I subtly tapped the record button on my phone, which was sticking out of my pencil case on the desk. Carlos stammered, "I'm sorry, She slammed the copy of Hamlet on her desk. "Sorry isn't good enough. I am so sick of you lazy, spoiled children and your excuses." Her voice was rising to a shout. "Family emergency! I've heard it all. Unless someone died, I don't care. And even then, you should plan better." I saw Carlos's face crumble. A couple of students tried to interject. "That's not fair." But Miss Tanner was on a roll. She went off on the entire class. "This generation is pathetic, entitled, whiny, and soft. You think teachers are just pushovers who will let you slide? Not in my class. If you don't do the work, expect to fail. Maybe if some of you spent less time on your phones or whatever, and more time actually studying, you wouldn't be such disappointments." Her words, verbatim, were being saved to my camera roll. I could hardly believe what I was capturing. She was digging her own grave and didn't even know it. She turned back to Carlos, who looked on the verge of tears, and sneered. "Since you don't care about this class, get out. Go to the office and tell them you decided to waste my time today." Carlos quickly gathered his things, head down, and shuffled out. Miss Tanner slammed the door behind him and then, for good measure, barked at the rest of us. "Anyone else want to be a victim today? No? Good. Then I expect better from the rest of you." I stopped the recording shortly after. My hands were shaking with a mix of anger and triumph. I knew I had gold. After class, I quietly told a few trusted classmates what I had. Word spread to Carlos, who, thankfully, wasn't in trouble. The office staff understood once he explained. Everyone agreed. This was the ammo needed to finally bring Miss Tanner down. That evening, I showed the video to my parents. To say they were livid would be an understatement. My mom's face turned red as she watched Miss Tanner scream on my phone screen. My dad kept muttering, "Unbelievable," under his breath. They, of course, contacted the principal and the school board first thing in the morning with the evidence. It was like lighting a fuse. By the next day, an emergency meeting had been called. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who had complained about Miss Tanner, but I was the first to have undeniable proof. The school couldn't ignore it anymore. Update 1. The tables turn. The morning after the video was sent in, I was called into a special meeting before school. In the principal's office sat Principal Morris, the district HR director, and even the superintendent of schools. My parents were there too, and off to the side stood Ms. Tanner, arms folded and looking markedly less cocky than usual. They had me play the video in front of everyone. As Miss Tanner's tirade filled the room, I watched the administrators' faces. The superintendent's jaw clenched. The HR director actually closed her eyes and sighed, like, "Here we go." Principal Morris looked embarrassed. He knew he'd been turning a blind eye to this for years. When the audio ended, the room was dead silent. Ms. Tanner opened her mouth, perhaps to attempt some excuse, but the superintendent held up his hand sharply. "I think we've heard all we need to." What followed was surprisingly swift. Ms. Tanner was asked to step out of the room. I could hear raised voices in the hallway, hers mainly, something about out of context and betrayal. After maybe 10 minutes, she stormed back in, grabbed her purse from a chair, and walked right out without a glance at me. The superintendent then calmly informed my parents and me that Ms. Tanner was being placed on immediate leave pending a formal termination hearing. I found out later that Ms. Tanner had been suspended without pay effective that morning. She never returned to our classroom after that. We had substitutes for the rest of the week, then a new permanent teacher by the next. However, the drama wasn't completely over. Ms. Tanner, being a tenured teacher, had a right to a hearing before the school board to plead her case. In the weeks leading up to it, she actually had the audacity to send an email to all the parents of our class. In it, she painted herself as the victim of a vindictive lying student, gee, wonder who that is, and said the video was an illegal recording of a private moment taken out of context. My parents, and most others, rolled their eyes at that. Some parents who'd long hated her were furious she was trying to weasel out of it. The day of the school board hearing, my video was basically Exhibit A. But more came out too. Turns out plenty of students and parents had filed complaints over the years, which had been conveniently filed away by the principal. Not a good look for him either. With the spotlight on, all those stories poured out. Emily's parents testified about Ms. Tanner mocking their daughter's speech impediment. Another family recounted how their son developed anxiety, thanks to her constant belittling. Faced with all of that, Ms. Tanner's defense fell apart. The teachers' union representative with her tried to argue that stress had led her to a, quote, momentary lapse. But when one board member asked if anyone had positive things to say in her defense, literally no one came forward. Not one parent, not one former student. That spoke volumes. In the end, the school board voted unanimously to terminate Ms. Tanner's employment. They even agreed to forward the case to the state education authorities to review her teaching license. In short, she was done. Ms. Tanner didn't even wait for the meeting to end properly. The moment it was clear she was finished, she got up and strode out, face like thunder. As she left, she shot me a look through the door's window. Pure hatred, like this was all my fault rather than her own behavior. But I just stared back, unblinking. She had no power over me anymore, and we both knew it. Update 2. End of the line. The school board meeting was last night, and it was even more intense than I expected. The room was packed with board members, school administrators, parents, and even a few local reporters. Small town news, you know. I took a seat with my parents, feeling my heart in my throat. Miss Tanner was there too, flanked by a union representative and a stern-looking lawyer. She kept her gaze forward, but I could feel the anger radiating off her. I steeled myself and tried not to look away. One by one, people got up to speak. A few of my classmates' parents described how their kids dreaded coming to English class because of Ms. Tanner's bullying. A former student, now in college, recounted how her constant ridicule made him doubt himself for years. Even Emily's father, the girl with the lisp, spoke about how his daughter came home in tears thanks to Ms. Tanner's mockery. By the time my turn came, the board looked thoroughly disturbed by the pattern. I played the recording for everyone to hear. As Ms. Tanner's voice blared through the speakers, her insults and shouting echoing in the meeting room, you could see jaws drop around the room. It was cringeworthy and cathartic all at once. Then I spoke, keeping it short. I told them how it felt to be a student in that class, constantly on edge, and why I decided enough was enough. My voice shook a little, but I got through it. My parents squeezed my shoulders in support as I sat back down. Ms. Tanner herself spoke in her defense, through her lawyer mostly. They tried to paint her as an old-school, strict teacher who had a one-time outburst due to stress. Her lawyer emphasized her decades of experience and strong test scores. Ms. Tanner, looking far more subdued than the woman in my video, murmured that she only ever wanted to coach students to succeed. She notably did not apologize to anyone. The school board didn't buy it. After a short, private deliberation, where we all waited, sweating bullets, they reconvened and voted unanimously to terminate Ms. Tanner effective immediately. The superintendent added that they'd be informing the State Board of Education about her conduct, which likely means her teaching license is as good as gone. It was officially over. She was done teaching at our school, and probably in any school. When the decision was announced, a small cheer actually went up from the students and parents behind me. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Meanwhile, Ms. Tanner stood up slowly, face pale with fury. She gathered her papers and, in a final classy move, shot me a withering glare. If looks could kill, I'd have been 6 feet under. Then she strode out of the room without a word, her lawyer scrambling after her. I watched her leave, feeling a rush of emotions. I was happy, relieved, vindicated. Justice had been served. But oddly, I also felt a bit sad. Sad that it had come to this, that a teacher's career ended in flames. Sad for the students before me who suffered and never saw justice. It was a victory, yes, but not a cheerful one. After the meeting, a bunch of parents and students came up to thank me. Emily's dad actually gave me a hug and said, "You have no idea how many kids you helped by doing this." That made me choke up a bit. I guess in stopping her I wasn't just getting revenge for myself, but for everyone she tormented. So that's the story. Ms. Tanner is gone for good, and our school is better for it. The atmosphere in English class is completely different now. Our new teacher is supportive and kind, and students actually participate without fear of being mocked. It's like a dark cloud lifted. As for Ms. Tanner, rumor has it she's forbidden from teaching pending the state investigation. I don't know what she'll do, and to be honest, I don't care. Maybe this will be a wake-up call for her, but knowing her, she'll probably just stay bitter. Do I feel bad for her? Maybe just a little, in the sense that it's sad someone could become that hateful. But she dug her own grave. And we, her students, finally pulled her out of the classroom and into the light.